everybody. We're halfway through the week, and welcome back to the Between the Ears show, brought to you by Mountaineers Now and SI Fan Nation channel. And we are 8 days away, it's hard to believe, from the start of the 2022 WVU football season. And yes, everything's going to get kicked off with the backyard brawl at Acrisure Stadium. And it's going to be a big one. College game day is going to be there. It's the first game between these two in over a decade. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's the right way to kick off the season. And the one thing that everybody continues to talk about is the quarterback battle, or the so-called quarterback battle. It's the worst kept secret in maybe college football between both of these schools, really. Pitt and West Virginia have yet to name a starting quarterback, although we pretty much know who those two guys are going to be. For Pitt, it's been between redshirt senior Nick Patty, who played in the bowl game last year against Michigan State, and also USC transfer Keaton Slovis. It's going to be Keaton Slovis. Pat Narduzzi, at least at the time of this recording, has not named Slovis the starting quarterback, but everyone expects him to be the guy. As for West Virginia, everyone expects JT Daniels to be the starting quarterback, also a former USC Trojan. The two are actually teammates for, I believe, just one season out in Southern California, both working underneath of Graham Harrell, the now West Virginia offensive coordinator. So this could be a battle of USC quarterbacks in this backyard brawl. It's really kind of a unique situation for those two to be the guys leading their respective teams in this game. But Neal Brown spoke to the media earlier this week about the quarterback situation, and as of right now, he does not have a starting quarterback named just yet.
But quarterback-wise, here's what I'll say, and I'm not really going to announce anything today, but feel really good about our present and our future. We're working through that. I'm not trying to be coy about it. We'll announce a starter before the game. It's not about that. We're not to that point yet. And so, but I know y'all ask about that. So that's kind of where we're at on it. I'm good with talking about them, but there's not been a final decision. So
wow. So that's interesting. There has not been a final decision just yet. Now, what do we make of this? Is this just Neal Brown just essentially just kind of delaying the inevitable and naming JT Daniels the starting quarterback of this football team? Or is there actually one of those three young guys contending and really truly pushing the USC transfer for that starting job, or the Georgia transfer, excuse me? I don't think it's the latter. I think it's he's just delaying the inevitable. I think everybody within that building understands the situation, and they've understood the situation since JT transferred into the program months ago. And the one thing I will say about the quarterback room is I don't think you're going to see any of those guys, whether it be Garrett Green, Goose Crowder, Nico Marchiol. I don't see any of those guys transfer. And why would they? I mean, given JT Daniels' history, that backup job is just about it's obviously not as important as the starting job, but winning that backup job is key, because he has not proven to this point in his collegiate career that he can stay healthy for an entire season, let alone more than 5 games in a single season. So winning that backup job is crucial. Whether, again, who knows who that backup's going to be? We have no idea. I think you can make a case for all three guys, really. It's a very healthy, very talented quarterback room, arguably the most talented quarterback room we've seen in Morgantown in years. I mean, there have been some very good ones, and maybe you have 2 really good quarterbacks, or a really good quarterback and a solid backup, and then it falls off after that. But there are legitimately 4 guys in this room that I believe could start, whether it be here or elsewhere. There are 4 starting quarterbacks in that room. Obviously, not all of them are going to stick it out, I don't think, and play their whole career at WVU. I think at some point, probably more so in the offseason, we'll see at least one of those guys move on. But right now, I don't see any of those guys, even after the announcement is made that JT Daniels is a starting quarterback. I don't see any of them leaving, getting up and out of Morgantown. Like, I think they're going to stay put, continue to push. If they don't win that backup job, they're going to push the guy who's got the backup role. So that way, maybe at some point they can take over the number 2 job. And then if JT gets hurt, boom, you're on the field. So I think it's interesting just about how Neal's going about this. Maybe it's because Pat Narduzzi hasn't named a guy himself either. Or maybe it's just he just feels no need to name a starting quarterback a week and a half out from the first game of the year. I mean, Pitt probably knows. You know, they're not blind to this. They understand the situation, just like West Virginia understands Pitt's situation. But if there's any sort of doubt that they can creep into the opponent's mind heading into that first week, why not do it? I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. If you give the clear answer now, you're going to give that definite answer for Pitt as to who's going to be behind center. They probably know, but still, I think this is more of just a little bit of gamesmanship here by Neal Brown. I don't think it's actually any QB battle. I don't think there's anything to be worried about in regards to JT and maybe his health or just how he's kind of come along in this system, his timing with the receivers, how he's looked. I don't think it's been any of that. I think this is just solely Neal Brown keeping that decision close to the vest as long as he possibly can. And we'll probably see this decision be named next week whenever Neal Brown has his first coaches show at Kegler's. I believe that's Tuesday. I think it's whatever the 30th is. I don't know my days off the top of my head, but I think the 30th is a Tuesday, and that'll be the day I believe that he'll name JT the starting quarterback. Now, as far as how the quarterbacks have actually looked, well, Neal's been pleased with all of them. So let's check back in with what Neal said about each of the quarterbacks to this point.
Yeah.
What concerns you?
Yeah. So, well, I'll start just talking about Nico first. I think I really like his progression from the spring through fall camp. And I think that the thing that a lot of true freshman quarterbacks don't get a lot of game like reps versus your first defense. And he's got a bunch, I think he got a bunch in the spring. He's got a bunch during fall camp, and his progression is it's been good to see. Knowledge of what we're doing offensively, knowledge of what the defense is trying to do. His ability to the game slowing down for him, and he had a really nice scrimmage on Thursday. And then you talk about Garrett. We played him live in our first scrimmage, not our second one, just too close to the game. But he's matured. He's got to continue to work on his decision making, but really from an arm talent standpoint and throws he can make, he's really flashed, and he's gotten faster. He's ran one of the fast on our GPS. That Mike keeps track of. He's ran some of the fastest times during fall camp. And then JT's experienced. He's very mature. We've talked about his intelligence. I think his timing has improved as he's gone because, we forget, the summer workouts are so different as far as throwing full speed. We're able to do some OTAs, but it's not necessarily you're not throwing versus defense. So they do that on their own. And so he's just had these, 14, 15 practices really get his timing down. And you can see that improving. And then Goose has been really steady. I think that's the kind of, he's consistent, knows what to do, throws a very catchable ball. And so I think all of them has some ups, and we've had some, we've thrown some balls to the defense, and the longer you go in fall camp, the harder it is on offenses because defenses seeing what you are, so, but I'm pleased with them. And like I said, I feel very confident in our present situation, and I feel confident about the future of those guys too.
There you go. So he gives a little bit of a detailed background about each of the 4 quarterbacks. Again, the first quarterback he talks about is not even JT Daniels. It's the true freshman Nico Marchiol. And I'm not saying that this is going to be Nico, pushing for a starting job as a true freshman, or that he's going to at some point be the guy if JT goes down. I have no idea. We will find out what the depth chart looks like next week, but it does send a message, I think, that we've seen a lot about Nico Markiel. We've heard a lot about Nico Markiel compared to Garrett Green and Goose Crowder. And as Neal just mentioned, he has seen a ton of first team reps or a ton of reps against the first team defense. That's something that's, again, like he said, is not very usual for him to have that as a true freshman. I mean, and we've heard all the great things about Nico. I mean, I think that just tells you right there they feel good about him as the future. Nico Markiel, as the future of this team. And to me, that's again, when he says they feel good about the present and the future, how I decipher that is that JT's the present, okay, and Nico's the future. He immediately talked about Nico Markiel. Garrett Green's got some stuff that he can work on to get better. And I still think he's a guy that they may use in certain packages to get more speed on the field in certain situations where they might do some RPO stuff like they did last year a lot, really, with Garrett. But I almost like Goose a little better than Garrett Green. But man, it's so tough. Like these guys are they're so close in terms of their talent and the stuff that really differentiates each of them. I think they're so talented. They've got a lot really high ceilings, and I think again, all four guys could start. Maybe not here, obviously, but somewhere in the country. It's going to be interesting to see how that quarterback room, plays out. Who becomes the starter, which we expect JT Daniels to be. Who becomes the backup? Who's the third string, and who's the guy that's sitting way down the depth chart, maybe that fourth spot, which I would expect to be Nico Markiel, even though they're high on him. There's no need to rush him into this situation. Let him sit, develop, soak everything in, and be ready to compete next spring for that starting job if JT Daniels is no longer with the team. So that's going to do it for today's episode of the Between the Ears podcast. I'm Skylar Callahan. You can check out our work on Twitter at SI_WVU. You can follow me at Callahan_. And also hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Mountaineers Now is our account on there. And we'll be back here on Friday, 6 o'clock for the next episode of Between the Ears. Until then, take care.